Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi podcast. I'm your co-host, Darth Celine.
And I am your main host, the Artificial Dragon. And welcome to episode 63 of the podcast, everybody. We've been delaying just a little bit because it'll be kind of a special episode. But more importantly, I am getting my ass into gear and actually uploading the remainder of the Star Wars alternate Iego arc campaign.
About damn time.
About damn time. It was kind of a little bit discouraging because they don't get a good amount of views, but I had a good amount of patrons asking, when are we going to see the rest of it? And I'm like, okay, I might as well put them up for my fans to watch personally because that's always fun to listen to.
I mean, I like going back and listening to the shenanigans we get into. So.
Yeah, especially with the side mission where it was just me and Kid doing a one-shot together. It was fun as hell.
Yeah. If we ever do a sequel campaign, that would be fun too.
That would be fun. We'll just have to try and encourage the guys to return to Star Wars.
Yeah, that and we got to get through Barovia first.
Yeah, which is also my own campaign. So that's going to be fun. Took a little bit of a break, and now I have returned with an official D&D module. And probably the best one out there, in all honesty.
It's good so far, but holy fuck, it hard.
Yeah, I put my own spin on things just for context for everybody. It's a little bit harder than the actual campaign, but in all fairness, the original campaign is not great either in terms of encounters with monsters.
It is mean.
It's very mean.
Players.
Especially with the Death House, everybody.
Oh boy, Death House.
And that was all supposed to be a first level adventure.
Yeah, and almost killed 3 third-level characters.
Yeah, it was fun. Probably not for you guys, but it was fun for me too.
Of course it was. You're sadistic.
Hey, I am a fair GM. Anything goes in Barovia.
That is debatable. But anyway, moving on to the actual meat of the podcast.
Yeah. So a couple of announcements. This video won't be uploaded on May 4th, which would be appropriately timed because it would be the May 4th be with you, everybody. We'll just be a couple days behind. But yeah, happy May the 4th, everybody. I'm looking forward to the new shows that will be announced from Star Wars Celebration.
Same here. Which is going to be, I think next year it's going to be in Japan.
Oh, that would be kind of interesting to travel out to. For anybody that doesn't know, I went for a study abroad trip in Japan, which was a lot of fun. It was a really fun time.
Yeah, you've told us a lot about it.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting to return to Japan, at least for Star Wars Celebration, if I decide to go there next year.
That would be a fucking expensive-ass trip, and you know it.
I know, Hannah, but it's a pipe dream.
Besides, next year you and I are going to Legends Con.
Oh yes, we have that plan in the works, ladies and gentlemen. If you're planning to go to Legends Con, I'll make sure to put a link in the description if anybody is interested in going. Me and Hannah are planning to go to Legends Con in Texas. If you are coming and we're also going, be sure to keep an eye out for both of us. I know Hannah is planning to do a lot of cosplays. I don't know if I'm going to follow suit, but I'm looking forward to it.
Not a lot of cosplays. It's just 2 days.
Well, okay. You know what I mean, Hannah.
I get it.
But yeah, I'm very excited to go to a con and hope I can meet some fellow fans down there, or us meet some fellow fans down there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It would be awesome. But a couple of announcements I do want to share. We have made some new sticker designs for the Discord server. The first one is Hannah's favorite simp card, and the second is a suicidal Jar Jar Binks, or at least his father.
His dad.
He does. Goodbye, cruel world.
Just end my suffering now.
Just end my suffering. I can't deal with this shitty child over here.
So when will they be up on the server?
They will be up a couple days from recording this episode. So if you guys are interested in joining the Discord server, there will be a myriad of stickers available, including these 2 new ones. I am kind of brainstorming if we could sell these stickers for our patrons, like deliver them out each month or something like that.
That's a thing we might still need to brainstorm.
Yeah, a lot of brainstorming over here. But we got the designs ready for people to spam the fuck out of. I know the Jar Jar one will be used a lot.
And of course, I will be using the simp one a lot.
Yeah, especially when it comes to your favorite male characters, Hannah.
Of course.
But yeah, another thing in the works right now. I will be a little bit late on the Patreon art piece for next month on May because I am trying out a new artist. We're kind of going through it step by step, testing the waters a little bit, just like I did with the Discord server. I'll make sure to put up a sneak preview of it in the video here, but yeah, it's looking pretty promising so far, and I hope you guys enjoy it and grab a poster when it, gets announced on the Patreon page.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, as I mentioned before, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/canmail. Once again, that's patreon.com/canmail, where you could contribute to any amount and any tier, from the lowest being $2 and the highest being $10. You'll be helping us out for making content like this. And of course, the Discord server, everybody can join it, but the highest tier, especially the consolers, will have special rights in voting for future episodes, just like this one we're about to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with the announcements out of the way, oh yeah, I should do the shout out for all of our highest tiers as per usual, because thank you everybody for supporting us, especially Y Wolves, Cameron Lee, Dr. Mboss, Gomez, and Tristan H. Thank you as always for supporting this podcast and for being the best people in the galaxy for us.
Yeah, we appreciate the support.
Yeah, as per usual. But yeah, we will be diving into the very first Patreon selected episode. And this one, I believe, was selected by Patreon Gomez.
This was a vote.
Yeah, it was personally voted. It's unviewable for everybody else that isn't a Patreon contributor. So this one specifically selected by Gomez. Thank you so much for selecting this topic. I think it's a very interesting one. And today's episode, we will be diving into the Dark Trooper Project.
Well, I know nothing about this, so we'll see what's in store.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll send a picture for the chat so that you can see the pictures, because there is a myriad of pictures that I want to share.
Are these the zombie guys or
no.
completely different?
I know there's a lot of different types of troopers in the Empire, which you'll probably come to learn once we cover the Galactic Empire in general. But it's the Death Troopers that you're thinking about, not to be confused with the elite soldiers from the canon series, which are also called Death Troopers. I know it's very confusing.
It's very confusing.
But don't worry, that's why I'm here, so I could separate the different names and different troopers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, today we will be talking about the Dark Trooper Project. So there are 2 different versions. Of course, as per usual, we'll go with Legends first, because that's the most in-depth version of the 2, in all honesty.
Okay.
But basically, the Dark Trooper Project is a project undergone by the Empire for experimental battle droids, basically as a way of replacing the common everyday stormtrooper.
Okay.
Yeah, if it sounds very familiar, it's kind of the same mentality with the Separatists and their droid army replacing organic troops to fight the battles for them and all that.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like Sky Troopers.
Yeah, just like the Sky Troopers. And yeah, the Dark Trooper project, it's one of those popular old legend topics. Like, I believe they originally came from the video game Dark Forces, which is the N64 Star Wars game, which is basically a Doom clone.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where Kyle Katarn comes from. Don't worry, we'll talk about Kyle Katarn in his own episode. He's
Star Wars Chuck Norris.
the Star Wars Chuck Norris. Yeah, he's going to be a lot of fun to talk about in the future. But that's something for future me to worry about. But yeah, we're talking about the Dark Troopers. But yeah, let me actually give you a nice little quote about the Dark Troopers from their creator. What I unveil today will mark a new era for the Empire. We will be able to decimate the rebels just as we did the Jedi Knights. At last the Emperor's war will be filled only with the glory and beauty of decisive victory.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was a quote from the mastermind of the Dark Trooper project, who is a chap by the name of General Rom Mach. I'll send you a picture of the dude in the chat. Rom Mach is kind of a fascinating character. They're like, this second picture of him, I can't remember the name of the actor, but he looks so much like that British actor.
Michael Caine.
There we go, Michael Caine. Yeah, he reminds me so much of Michael Caine.
If he was younger, I could probably see him playing that role.
Yeah, that would be so cool. But yeah, he's one of the he's like the main brainchild of a Dark Trooper project. And the interesting thing about General Rom Mach is that originally he was a veteran of the Clone Wars and is particularly a cybernetics specialist, and he has a deep fascination with battle droids. Another interesting thing to note about Rom Mach is that he has kind of a huge reputation for engaging in personal combat with battle droids. I don't mean like fighting alongside the clone troopers, trading blaster shots. He went right up to the battle droids and fisticuffed their ass. So he's kind of a hardcore dude. Probably because he also has cybernetics on his side, but just to give you a general idea of how hardcore this dude is. But yeah, his feats of going mano-a-mano with battle droids would actually make him a celebrated hero across the HoloNet. And when the Empire was created, his loyalty towards the Emperor was very notable. And Palpatine personally awarded him with 3 Medals of Valor, which is basically like the Medal of Honor in Star Wars. And he also received the Distinguished Medal of Imperial Honor. Rom Mach, even just to give you another context, in the era of the Empire, battle droids are basically banned because, you know, the Separatist army had battle droids and they caused much death and destruction across the galaxy.
No shit.
Yeah, and which is another reason why a lot of people don't look at droids in a very positive light in the original trilogy. But yeah, Rom Mach had a huge fascination with droids, and throughout his entire career, he would actually test himself against other deadly battle droids, to the point where he keeps his own trophy room of them.
Damn.
Yeah, he like literally is a headhunter, but for battle droids, and he just puts them, crap. You know how like Jabba the Hutt has the carbonite frozen Han Solo in his throne room as a trophy?
Yes.
Basically like that with this dude, but with droid heads everywhere. Yeah, he's kind of an eccentric dude, but he was also a very vocal opponent of the Death Star project because it went against his own martial philosophy. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, and this inspired him to create the the Dark Trooper project through his experiences as a zero-G stormtrooper. I'm not sure if those zero-G stormtroopers were ever mentioned, but Thrawn used them a lot in his campaign against the Republic.
Is it mentioned in the trilogy?
I believe so, yes. And that's basically what they look like.
Okay. Just stormtrooper mechs.
Yeah, pretty much. The Zero-G Stormtrooper is a specialist rank who wield that gigantic suit of armor that has enough firepower to breach and seize control of a blockade runner. So basically, they're like miniature starfighters or one-man armies, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So Rom-Mak was actually a Zero-G Stormtrooper, and he got those personal experiences on the battlefield and applied them for the Dark Trooper project. And these experiences would give him perspective on what the ultimate warbot would be capable of doing. And he would actually do extensive studies on battle droids from galactic history, from the pre-Republic era to the ancient Sith era. Like, you know those droidica-looking motherfuckers that the Sith Empire used in SWTOR?
Yes.
Yeah, he would study those kinds of battle droids, along with the Iron Knights, if you remember those guys.
Kind of.
Frikium is an Iron Knight.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, he took inspiration from the literal Jedi droids.
Okay.
Yeah. To accomplish this, Rom-Mak developed a factory ship, which he called the Ark-Hammer, which is kind of a cool name for a ship of its purposes. And this is what the Ark-Hammer looks like. It actually appears in Empire at War.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you could actually use the Ark-Hammer and deploy your own unit of Dark Troopers on the battlefield.
That's cool.
It is so cool. I want to get my hands on the Ark-Hammer and unleash hell on my opponent. Especially you. You know who you are.
And boss.
And boss. Motherfucker just sent wave after wave of stormtroopers to kill my ass. That's bullshit.
I might need to give it a shot to
yeah.
try Empire at War.
Yeah, I'm not very good at strategy if the live stream wasn't apparent, but I still have a lot of fun just summoning troops and summoning Star Destroyers on my enemies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that aside, the Ark-Hammer would be the main HQ of the Dark Trooper project, and the Ark-Hammer would actually be classified as a Dreadnought class ship, which meant it was a big ship. Like, it literally costed a total of billions of credits.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, the Dark Trooper was not a cheap project at all, so he was kind of
obviously not.
Yeah, so he was kind of putting all of his eggs in one basket, so to speak, but hopefully it'll go through. Hopefully. This is, going to be important for later, Hannah, but, we'll get there when we get there.
Okay.
The history of the Dark Trooper project, ironically enough, didn't start with Rom-Mak. He was just the more recent person that thought of the idea. It actually originated with this man known as Orman Tage, and I'll send you a picture of what he looks like. He's got these weird sci-fi glasses.
He looks like that character from, was it Star Wars New Generation?
I think so.
Or not Star Wars, Star Trek.
There we go, Star Trek. Yeah, I know the dude who you're talking about, yeah. He kind of gives me that vibe. I've been watching a lot of clips of that recently. I don't know why. But anyway, Orman Tage, so he's part of his house called House Tage. House Tage is kind of like one of the houses that you find on Alderaan and SWTOR. Is a very influential family in the entirety of the galaxy. They are renowned for operating and owning the company called Tage Company, which is a very powerful mega corporation.
Yay, megacores.
Yay, you can't escape them no matter where you go in the galaxy. But yeah, Orman Tage was meant to be in line to become the future Baron of House Tage. And at the age of, I believe, 16, he was a child prodigy. And he kind of drew up plans to make the next advanced battle droid. Because the Tage Company did have some close relationships with the Trade Federation at the time. But fortunately, they ended their partnership before the Clone Wars, and they would stay loyal to the Republic. Sometime after the invasion of Naboo, Orman Tage would, begin his own designs for a new battle droid, drawing inspiration from the battle droids that the Trade Federation would use on Naboo, but instead to be used for the Republic later down the line.
Cool.
And one of the designs he would draw up is this droid. Man, I wish I had my new Essential Guide to Droids ready up and go. But essentially, he made this first prototype droid called the L8-L9 Combat Droid. And this is what it looks like.
Let's see. It's definitely weird looking.
A little bit weird looking, but when it led up to the Clone Wars, it would be mostly inspired by the design of a clone trooper armor, which I think you could vaguely see in its design. But yeah, mostly the L8-L9 was intended to be sold as a substitute for the clone troopers to basically operate in extreme conditions that normal soldiers couldn't survive in, like radiation-filled wastelands or the vacuum of space, so on and so forth.
Yep.
Which does make sense if you think about it, because you can't depend everything on just organic troops.
That's why the Trade Federation kind of had the right idea of using droids.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually he hoped that his droid would replace the clone troopers in the long run. Like initially they just serve as substitutes, but eventually their combat prowess and sheer practicality would just outright replace the clone troopers. This project was considered top secret for a number of reasons. Number one, battle droids and their development are technically restricted because of what happened on Naboo and all that. Battle droids were kind of illegal to use in armies and all that. But, and number two, he didn't want rival companies to steal the blueprints and get contracts with the Republic because, he doesn't want the competition.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he did was, so instead of the usual trial runs like you do in a laboratory, he decided to put his L8-L9 prototype into a free-for-all gladiatorial arena.
Okay.
And this certain gladiator event would be taking place on the planet of Ratak. Ratatak, which if you recall is the homeworld of Asajj Ventress. Well, before her retcon.
It's the homeworld of the Ratataki.
Yeah, before they retconned Asajj Ventress to being a Night Sister. But yeah, that's a story for another day. And his hope was to basically pit this droid against numerous other warriors in this gladiatorial arena that come from all over the galaxy. And if it isn't apparent from the art style of the second image, it does come from the Clone Wars microseries.
Nice.
Yeah.
I noticed that with the animation style.
Yeah. It would prove to be a deadly killing machine, especially with its integrated plasma cannons, flamethrowers, including its increased mobility and agility, making it quicker than most droids the Separatists would employ. Orman Tage was so confident in his creation that he even waged 100,000 credits on his droid for winning.
Nice.
He was that confident. Though, as things go in Star Wars, he didn't account for Asajj Ventress being there. Basically, if you watch the episode of a microseries, Asajj Ventress was basically there to curb stomp a lot of gladiatorial warriors to impress Count Dooku, and this droid turned out to be one of the unfortunate victims of her showing off.
Mm-hmm.
But to give the droid credit, it did determine Ventress to be the greatest threat in the entire arena at that point, and decimated a bunch of other gladiators in the crossfire. But Asajj Ventress just yoinked it with the Force and smashed it across the ceiling.
Damn.
Yeah. So, yeah, good old Orman Tej had his entire investment go down the drain from Ventress just destroying his one prototype.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, his hopes of creating a line of Republic droids would be crushed, and Tej would halt production on his L8, L9 combat droid line. But learning from his experiences, Tej would continue his idea of an automated soldier. He and his company, later down the line, would be approached by our good old buddy Rom Mok, who was also running another droid trooper project, and they eventually created the Dark Trooper project, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first droid, this is where we get into the real juicy stuff. The very first droid that was developed as part of the Dark Trooper project would be a droid. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quickly. There you are. The very first droid that they would create from this project would be the ZX-free Experimental Droid Trooper.
I could zoom in better. It's like, what the fuck is that thing on its chest? A gun?
It's supposed to be a gun, but I know it's very phallic looking.
That is so weird.
So, yeah, the ZX-free, much like its predecessor, was designed to operate in extreme environments and conditions that normal stormtroopers couldn't survive, such as highly irradiated environments. The ZX-free would be modeled, if it wasn't apparent already, would be modeled after the iconic look of a stormtrooper's armor to kind of blend in with them a little bit, but of course it has a crimson finish.
It doesn't.
Well, that's beside the point, Hannah, but you get where the aesthetics are coming from, at least.
Yes.
But instead of its predecessor, who had wield a separate blaster rifle or be equipped with what is called a blaster box, which is very apparent on its chest there.
Mm.
And it also boosted a high physical strength and had a high degree of intelligence, so technically it is both smarter and stronger than a normal stormtrooper.
Well, that's good.
Unfortunately, though, even
Do
though
they aim better?
Probably, I wouldn't doubt it. But initially, the Tej company would produce 100 of these droids, making them large enough to be used in test environments, basically. You know, the trial run and everything. Unfortunately, though, even though these droids could be pretty useful on the battlefield, a lot of Imperial officers who still were fresh out of the Clone Wars saw these droids with disgust because, you know, they had to go through an entire war fighting against these kind of droids. And they're like, we don't need droids, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, well, okay, not unfortunately, but eventually those very roles that the ZX-free was supposed to fulfill were just filled up by specialized ranks of stormtroopers.
Okay.
So the ZX-free was kind of destined to fail. And it would be canceled, and many of the active ZX-frees would be slated for recycling.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Fortunately, though, some units would find service in the Empire on a few remote outposts, so at least they have some use on the far fringes of the Empire, somewhere in the Outer Rim, I'd reckon.
Mm-hmm.
But some other units would actually find their way into private arms, you know, like maybe criminal gangsters or collectors of rare technology, that sort of thing.
Yep.
There would actually be one named droid called ZX Free, which, yeah, I know. ZX Free would find refuge on this droid world of Kelson's moon. Let me go ahead and pull it up. Excuse me. We'll eventually talk about Viz Locale, but it's basically a glorified space station inhabited only by droids.
Okay.
As it was meant to serve as a safe haven for droids, because no organics are allowed to step foot on Kelson's moon. And it's not really relevant, so I'll go ahead and skip it for later. But yeah, it was very obvious that the ZX Frees were a complete failure. So back to the drawing board for Rom Mach and the Dark Trooper project. Eventually, they would find success with what is called the Phase Zero Dark Trooper. I'll go ahead and put it in here. These things appear in the video game Battlefront 1 and 2, the original Star Wars Battlefront. So, it was less of a droid and more of a exoskeleton for stormtroopers. Originally, they were created in the early years of the Empire to deal with a shortage of experienced troops. Specifically, they yoinked a bunch of aged clone veterans and brought them back to peak condition, usually by replacing their limbs and organs with cybernetics.
Oof.
Yeah, basically Vaderizing them. I'm just gonna call them Vaderizing. Yeah, like, there are some cases where over 70% of their bodies would be just replaced with pure machine parts.
Oof.
Yeah. Fortunately, their combat experience, along with their cybernetic augmentations, made them an undeniably effective asset on the battlefield. However, these kind of came with some side effects, because a lot of the clone subjects that were turned into these Dark Troopers were forcibly recruited. A lot of them weren't willing.
Oof.
So yeah, you would have the occasional case where one of these dudes who realized that they've become more machine than man wanted to try committing suicide.
Well, yeah.
Because death is more preferable than being a part robot. But yeah, these things would be around for a good while until the Empire would find better recruitment methods and actually got everyday conscripts instead of a Kaminoan clones. However, a number of Phase Zero Dark Troopers continued to serve on numerous battlefields of the Empire, even in the days of the original trilogy. So yeah, the Phase Zero Dark Trooper wasn't a true droid, but it provided the building blocks for the eventual next phases of the Dark Trooper. So the first droid for the Dark Trooper project would be called the Phase 1 Dark Trooper. And it's kind of a very weird design. I'll go ahead and pull it up for you. But it kind of reminds me of a skeletal gladiator droid.
They're weird looking too.
Yeah, they are kind of weird looking. It wasn't exactly clear what their actual military application is, as they never participate in any battle, but they did guard a lot of Imperial installations, so I reckon just personal security for VIPs or something? I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the first phase of the Dark Trooper project. A little bit weird, but it was the first groundwork, and apparently it was a good success. So let me go ahead and go to the second phase of a Dark Trooper project, which is what is called the Phase 2 Dark Troopers. And these are actual military units, full-on combat droids.
They look a bit different, I guess.
Yeah, these things stand at 9 feet and 3 inches tall, by the way.
Goddamn.
Yeah, these things are big, and they are terrifying.
Damn.
Yeah, each one of these bad boys are equipped with a jump pack, an assault cannon capable of firing 400 plasma shells and 20 missiles before they need to reload.
Wow.
Yeah, this was basically the true genius of Rom Mach and the Dark Trooper project. This specific model of Dark Trooper was meant to be an independent battle droid, or in some cases, it could actually be converted into an exoskeleton for use by normal soldiers.
Okay.
Regardless, they were very effective on the battlefield. At one point, Rom Mach, in a bid to impress Darth Vader, deployed a small number of these battle droids to basically level an entire rebel base, and they managed to demolish that base. There were no survivors.
Damn.
And Darth Vader himself was actually very impressed, and he basically gave Rom Mach the thumbs up to continue the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you've impressed Darth Vader himself, you know you're on the right track for success.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
Just as good as impressing the Emperor.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, Rom Mach is kind of going on the right trail. Let's see if he actually succeeds, though. The next and arguably the final phase of the Dark Trooper project would be what is called the phase-free Dark Trooper project. And as you can see, the phase...
They get more chunky and top-heavy.
Yeah, they are chunky. Yeah, basically, the phase-free is known as the most powerful droid of the entire Dark Trooper project. It was meant to serve as both a combat droid and an exoskeleton operated by a normal stormtrooper, much like its predecessor, but this thing is qualified as a bipedal tank.
It looks like one.
Yeah, its standard weapon complement is a large handheld assault cannon and concealed shoulder-mounted seeker missiles.
Oh, lovely.
So this motherfucking thing is basically the Iron Man suit.
Uh-huh.
Like it has
excuse me.
Yeah. It basically has fragmentation grenades, thermal detonators, concussion grenades, and its armor is made of the nearly indestructible metal frick, which made the Dark Trooper resistant to lightsaber strikes.
Yet another lightsaber resistant metal in this universe.
Yeah, there is a shit ton of them. Yeah. Hey man, when you're going up against laser sword wielding monks, you gotta get whatever you can to resist that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the phase free would be the pinnacle of the Dark Trooper project, and it was bound to basically succumb to widespread service. But unfortunately, okay, before I go into that, the phase free was basically Rom Mach's greatest creation, and is meant to be the perfect battlefield infantry unit, a true amalgamation of clone creativity and initiative, along with the resilience and firepower of a heavy battle droid. Unfortunately, though, there's a certain Chad called Kyle Katarn that kind of dampened his plans for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle Katarn follows that entire game I mentioned earlier. Basically, he infiltrated the Arkhammer, sabotaged it, had one last battle with Rom Mach, who had his own suit of Dark Trooper armor, as you saw in that previous picture of him.
Yep.
And final boss fight of the game, basically, got killed, and his lovely Arkhammer was destroyed, and along with the rest of a Dark Trooper project.
Okay.
And this set the entire setback cost the Empire billions of credits, and they were forced to shut down the Dark Trooper project completely.
Sucks.
Yeah. Funny little comment by Sate Pestage. He was all like, "I told you it would never work." But fortunately, Darth Vader, he would actually keep a couple of Dark Troopers as his personal security on his castle of Vajun.
Nice.
Yeah, so Darth Vader, he was all like, I would have loved some more Stormtrooper battle droids. Oh well, at least I have my own personal collection over here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, even though that was the end of the main line of the Dark Trooper project, that wasn't the only droid that the project created. There are a couple of offshoot models that the project has created.
Okay.
The very first one, and arguably the largest droid of the Dark Trooper project, is what is called a Purge Trooper.
This one barely looks like it even has hands.
It has little stubbly hands, yeah.
That's Stubbs. The fucking Stubbs McGee.
This guy, however, is like the tallest motherfucker at around 9 feet tall.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's equipped with energy blades, a red energy shield, and the obvious rocket launcher on its shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, so it has armor that's composed of duranium that is reinforced with fibers of refined kurtosis.
Damn.
Which, if you recall, it's also a lightsaber-resistant material.
Yes, I know what kurtosis is.
Yeah, we had an entire campaign on the homeworld of kurtosis.
We had a whole arc of a campaign on it.
Yeah, it was also equipped with magnetic feet, which essentially made it impossible to push over with the Force.
Okay.
But yeah, it was specifically designed to kill Force users. This thing actually appears in the Force Unleashed game.
Cool.
Yeah, even though it was originally meant to be used against Force users, it was unfortunately weak to Force lightning.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, check mark on all of those other things, but lightning, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically enough, the Purge Trooper was actually conceived by originally a Techno-Union engineer in an attempt to better combat Jedi generals during the Clone Wars. But ultimately, the plans were retrieved by a squad of clone commandos and was converted for use by the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, this was a separatist creation, but of course, the Empire put their own stamp on it instead.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Do I have this guy? Oh yeah. Here's another one that you might like. There's a couple of other offshoot Dark Troopers which are barely mentionable, but I'll go ahead and share them anyway. The very first one is what is called the Inquisitorium Dark Trooper, and this guy's a thick boy.
Loading. Don't by me, my Wi-Fi's being fucky.
Hang on, let me see if I could resend it. There we go. Let's see if this is better.
What the fuck? That is fucking male body type 4 from Switor. That's a chunky ass dude.
I told you, it's a chunky droid.
That boy's thick.
He's thick. If you remember how we always joke that thighs save lives, in this case, thighs kills lives.
That's not. He just doesn't have thick thighs. That dude is thick.
Girth.
Yep.
But yeah, the Inquisitorium Dark Trooper, if the name wasn't apparent already, it was used by the Inquisitorius branch of the Empire.
Hmm.
And these large-ass droids were programmed to work alongside Inquisitorium hunters, in their tasks for hunting surviving Jedi.
Hmm.
Yeah, just imagine you're a Jedi, and you're just avoiding the authorities, and then this motherfucking thing comes in Kool-Aid Man style about to kill your ass.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that would be very terrifying. But, yeah, the next model of Dark Trooper is what is called the Dark Nova Trooper. I know it looks like an ordinary stormtrooper, but trust me, that is a droid under there.
Okay.
Basically, it's programmed with expertise and boarding operations, blah, blah, blah. There's barely like a paragraph for each one of these models, so buckle in. Next, we have the Exogen Dark Trooper. It was used as city security guard and are more heavily armed than regular stormtroopers.
Looks like a normal-ass stormtrooper.
I know. The helmet is a little bit weirder looking than a normal stormtrooper, but yeah, it does look like a normal stormtrooper. Then we have what is called the Glory class Dark Trooper.
Okay.
Nothing noteworthy, just more city guards, blah blah blah. The next ones are the Oppressor 7 and Oppressor 9 Dark Trooper, which are basically law enforcement droids.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of these droids, if it wasn't obvious by the pictures, come from Star Wars Galaxies, so there's a lot of them.
I was wondering what kind of game that was in the background. I was thinking, is that Onderon?
Yeah, that's Star Wars Galaxies. But yeah.
Cool.
For, it's kind of funny, for a project that has a limited amount of, well, not a limited amount of funding, but was meant for experimental battle droids, the Empire is already using them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then we have other ones which are basically copy and paste of that same Dark Trooper design. The Victory class Dark Trooper. What were the other ones? Here we go. The Urban Assault Dark Trooper, the Triumvirate class Dark Trooper. Is just copy and paste, basically.
A lot of Dark Troopers.
A lot of Dark Troopers. Here's the Black Hole Dark Trooper, which is a different color palette.
Ooh, a different color.
Ooh! I know. But bear with me here. Here's the last one. Then there's the Elite Dark Trooper.
Big whoop.
Big whoop. But yeah, that's basically all that I have for the Dark Troopers from Legends anyway. You ready for canon?
Sure.
Alright, so as with most things in canon, not a whole lot of information is known about the Dark Trooper project. We know it exists. I don't know if Rom Mach is the head of a Dark Trooper project, but considering how Disney is always adopting formerly Legends characters into canon, I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But this droid isn't technically part of a Dark Trooper project, but it does have a strong resemblance to them. This is what is called the DT Series Sentry Droid.
Okay.
So these droids were manufactured by Bactoid Combat Automata, which is the same company that manufactured a majority of the Separatist battle droids.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, they were utilized by the Empire as guards and combat training droids. In the era of the Empire, even in canon, the use of battle droids was banned, but the Empire, being the Empire, were like, well, technically, these things aren't combat droids, they're sentry droids, huh?
Ha.
But yeah, there are two different variants of these sentry droids. There's a white-plated version, which is used by the Kaminoan government as training droids for their clones, and the most common one, which is the black armor variant, would be possessed by the Empire, mostly regulated as guard droids aboard Star Destroyers, where normally one droid would be active, but if that droid was destroyed, it would basically wake up the rest of them, because it's like, oh no, there's an active threat on board, wake everybody up.
Mhm.
And actually, in the Rebels TV show, Grand Admiral Thrawn actually used a pair of these droids as sparring partners.
I think you see that briefly in a clip.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're able to go hand to hand with these types of droids, you know you're a Giga Chad.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Of course, Ern's always gonna get Chad.
yeah, especially when he just has when he goes shirtless against these things, it's awesome.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the Sentry Droid. I think they're pretty cool. But let's go ahead and talk about the main Dark Troopers. Of course, we don't know too much about the Phase 0 Dark Trooper or the Phase 1 Dark Trooper. They kind of skipped over them. But this is the Phase 2 Dark Trooper.
Okay.
No
different than the other one.
Just a little bit. The Phase 2 Dark Trooper was not a true droid. Instead, it was meant to be an exoskeleton used by stormtroopers. It has its wrist-mounted assault cannon, shoulder-mounted rocket launcher, and it was meant to storm enemy defenses. That's pretty much it. Though it was eventually evaluated that the human pilot was the true weakness of a Dark Trooper project, and instead the project would turn towards true battle droids. And this is where the true monsters come in, with the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. These guys are cool.
They're very shiny.
Yeah, they are very shiny, and these things actually appear in the second season of The Mandalorian.
That's what I was thinking. 'Cause
Yeah.
you see Luke just kick the shit out of all of them.
Yeah, but even without the Jedi bullshit, these things were pretty threatening in the show. Even if they technically didn't kill anybody, but, I mean, they would have killed Din Djarin if he didn't have his bullshit Beskar armor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Phase 3 Dark Troopers were an experimental battle droid that saw prominent use by the remnant faction of the Empire. Mostly the faction led by Moff Gideon, if you remember that name.
Mm-hmm.
So these droids, they're not as heavily armed as the Legends version of a Phase 3 Dark Trooper, but they're basically Iron Man. If he was a droid.
Okay.
But yeah, of course, these things would have been a threat to ordinary sentient beings, but of course, when they're going up against a lightsaber, they're not that much of a threat.
Well, yeah.
Like, one of these things was able to withstand multiple blaster shots, a close-range flamethrower that set its entire inner circuitry on fire, and even repelled several whistling birds, which are basically Beskar darts before it went down.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of these things. Can you imagine an entire army of these things after you?
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
No, it would not. Now, going up against a lightsaber, that's a different story, but let's be honest, that's with most things in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally we have what is called the Phase 4 Dark Trooper, and it's just glorified Mandalorian armor.
Looks like they stole the Maul Trooper armor and made it better.
So just kind of a little spoilers. I know you haven't watched Mandalorian, but in the third season of The Mandalorian, Moff Gideon manages to escape custody, and he has an entire operation going down on Mandalore, and he harvested the Beskar deposits to make his own Dark Trooper project.
Douchebag.
Yeah, he was all like, this is my newest iteration of a Dark Trooper project. And I'm all like, dude, that's just glorified Mandalorian armor. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yeah, this armor, aside from, being Beskar armor, kind of also enhances his own strength to the point where he was able to crush the Darksaber with one hand.
Mm.
Yeah, spoilers, the Darksaber gets destroyed in the first season of Mandalorian.
In the third season?
In the third season.
Sounded like you said first.
It kind of does, doesn't it? But, yeah, it's also kind of mind-boggling to me because the entire reason why they did the Phase 3 Dark Trooper project was because of the human weakness, but now they went back to the human weakness. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
They look ridiculous. They're too fancy.
Yeah.
What a waste of Beskar, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, that's pretty much the Dark Trooper project and canon. I do love me some droids, even though the Empire already has a menagerie of different types of stormtroopers. Now we got the droid stormtroopers, which is pretty cool on its own, but yeah, it's kind of a little bit bloated with the Empire, which we'll eventually get to in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's I like them. I do love the canonized Phase 3 Dark Trooper. It looks pretty cool. I would love to have a movable action figure of that because I've seen those online.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. What do you think about the Dark Trooper project, Anna?
I don't know. I mean, the droids aren't exactly my thing. So.
You're about the cute wildlife and buff, smart antagonists.
And Sith.
That is true. That is true. You are a Sith simp, and I am the droid simp, so that's fair, Hannah. That is fair.
But like I've said before, I also like the politics.
Yeah,
like,
that is true.
Hell, the Trade Federation episode is one of our most popular.
It is definitely one of our most popular, and I love it for that.
I think we need to get back into politics.
2 words, couple of words I didn't expect to come out of your mouth, Hannah.
Not actual politics. Star Wars politics.
I know, I'm just teasing, Hannah. But yeah, that is our episode of Can Mayonnaise Kill a Jedi? Or in this case, dude, seriously, that's a waste of Beskar.
Yeah, that's a waste of fucking Beskar.
It does look cool, though.
I don't care if it looks cool. That's a waste of Beskar.
But, yeah. Happy May the 4th. Normally, we would do announcements on future episodes, but I'm going to try a new format. So
this next one's a vote?
Kind of debating on it, but I'll let you know what the plan is for the next episode, Hannah.
Okay.
But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was a very fun topic for me to research and cover. I got to learn a bit more about the Dark Trooper project. And Hannah, I'm sure you're looking forward to the menagerie of stormtrooper types we'll eventually cover when we do the Empire.
Yeah.
But anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I know this is a little bit early, but happy May 4th, everybody.
May the 4th be with you. Maybe we'll release an episode on May 4th. We don't know. But
we shall see. I don't know. Maybe, maybe, okay, depending if I am free on May 4th, we could probably do a live stream on the new announcements.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Anyway, just ideas I thought I'd shoot out. But anyway, hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and this is the way. Bye-bye.
May the force be with you. Bye-bye.
That too. Bye-bye.